What is up, Flannelverse? Welcome in for another episode of All Dogs. This week we got a special guest, Krutches, coming in. Thanks for joining us, Krutches. Of course, Neil's in here to give us his 2 cents on the slate, up and coming slate. But first, I just want to do a quick introduction of Krutches. He's one of the biggest grinders on the app. You would see him; it's his name there, and then I believe it's 93. So when you see him in the lobby, you might want to start paying attention to what he's doing. He punched Dawg Bowl in Miami. Was it just one or two, Krutches? Just remind me.
I punched 2 Dawg Bowls in Miami and then one last year, but I tied for a third and lost the tiebreaker. So 3.5-time Dawg Bowl qualifier, you can call it. So
yeah, and just an unreal shout out. How you took that tie and then losing it to hottest sauce, and then was it the next week when you're in Vegas? You came back and punched.
I punched the ticket the week I lost the tiebreaker to him, which is like the funniest part about the tiebreaker. I was in Vegas that week in a hotel watching it, and I think I was in the Venetian or something at a buddy's room.
Yeah.
And the way I lost it was hilarious because I lost by less than a touchdown, and Kyron got stuffed 3 times at the 1-yard line, which is like his entire bread and butter. Like it's all he does is score 1-yard touchdowns.
Right.
And that was the week he happened to score. Or he gets stuffed 3 times, and then Devontae Smith had that one-handed catch for his Jalen Hurts team. So it was just like easily could have had 2, but it's all good.
Yeah, that's one thing that hanging out with you at the Dawg Bowl last year, we had a lot of good times together. But man, you never forget a beat, man. You remember?
Yeah, you just like know exactly where you are. Same thing with the wins for me. I'm not like everyone thinks I only complain. I've tried to get better over the years. Once I actually started making money and I wasn't like stressing every single contest, you kind of settle down. So everyone still makes fun of me for the way I sweat, but I've tried to be better. Same thing with like Dave talked about, or like Leone's article of like I got 3rd in the BR the other week, and I was just like, I'm happy. Like there's nothing I could have done different. Like, you know what I mean? I'm happy. So yeah.
Yeah, a lot of respect, man. Every time I see you in a lobby, I'm like, I get amped up. I'm like, okay, I got to bring it. This week.
I know there's people out there that historically have taken notes on what I'm doing early week. So it's funny to see. I think last year was a Zamir White week. I was just like going out on him versus Carolina. And then I noticed like 10 drafts in, people started taking Zamir White. So it was kind of funny. So maybe I psyoped people into a bad play. Who knows?
Yeah, you never know. So Neil, how you doing? How's things going?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I've done a few drafts today, getting into the streets a little bit again. So 2 weeks in a row, getting into some drafts before the show. So I kind of have a little bit of an idea on this one. Some of these weeks I have not even looked at the slate by the time we're doing the show. Yeah. So you guys start talking, I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I have no opinion on any of this. This week I've at least done a few drafts, started to form opinions a little bit.
Yeah, I saw you in the lobby around 3:00 my time. We're trying to do a little Herbert build there. Try to get a Herbert slide, and it quite happened for you. Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, it was wishful thinking because the draft prior to that, I had gotten Herbert at 44 unstacked. Actually, Go AZ Cards in chat. Apologies to Go AZ Cards because I realized after I took Herbert that he actually had the double stack. I don't know that it would have stopped me from taking Herbert at 44 naked, but he had set up the double stack, and I sniped him on it. I had built out Miami, so I had Jalen Waddle and Devin Achane, so it was kind of building out that game stack, and then ended up bringing in Hassan Haskins, which I'll be curious to hear your guys' thoughts on Hassan Haskins this week as a play, because I'm torn on like what's his role going to be. Is it going to be Kamani Vidal? How viable is he, and when should we be taking him? But that ended up being my stack in that one. I was hoping then my very next draft, I was like, all right, I'm going to try the double. It almost worked out last time for Go AZ Cards. Maybe I can pull it off. And then similarly, somebody took naked Herbert.
Yep. Yeah, everybody's tripping over ourselves for Chargers right now and Packers, it seems like. But we're going to get into that. Before we do that, though, I want to just throw up my spreadsheet that I've been showing kind of periodically of just the top 10 finishes kind of each week. And Krutches are kind of like your opinion or thoughts of this past slate of maybe an angle that you attacked it and overall what you thought of the slate. So if you want to throw that up for us, Neil, or do I do it?
No. Yeah, I do it. 1 second here. Got to find the right screen here. This one, that'll work.
Yeah, I can zoom in a little bit. So Krutches, this is just kind of the top 10. As you know, 137 punched the ticket. and then 134 was the top three. And then what we saw was a pretty dominant 1-2-2-1 in the top 10 and just a 1-1-3 or 1-1-3-1. Pretty like chalky. Like this is the ownership column for me over here of just, you can see like Chad's team, pretty much everybody all 6 guys were like 100% drafted. So he just hit that right combo and didn't do much scrolls, but I think it was Fantasy Grinder. This was his lineup, and he had a couple of scrolls here with the Darnold and Cooper Kupp was really low owned, and that stack got home. Did you play it as a low scoring slate? Were you like 1-2-2-1, or did you play around quite a bit?
I didn't track my build exposures. Funny enough, I forgot what my exposure was. So I just took a look, and I feel kind of bad now because my second highest owned player was Jake Ferguson. I had 19%. So I just didn't win it. And then I had 16% JT. I mean, I was all over in 6-man. Same thing. I had JT1, HN2. I was kind of playing a Gibbs fade, even though I don't know if it's directionally right. I was kind of playing a little into the Demont narrative, but I also wasn't drafting Demont. So it was more a fade on both, I guess. More so a sense that they split the work, and maybe Demont isn't optimal, kind of like he wasn't. Right, he got 1 rushing touchdown, right? Wasn't really optimal. And then Gibbs scores 1 or something like that. Versus like HN could easily score 2 against the Panthers, especially. And then JT, I mean, he's live to score 4 touchdowns every week, it seems like. So I was pretty hardcore on JT. Like I said, I liked Ferguson last week. I was playing a little bit of Q tags last week as well. None of them played, but some of them were just like completely 6-round free swaps. So I would guess more on the 1-2-2-1 side, considering I'm going early running back. I think these thin slates, if you're going to go 1-2-2-1, it has to be early, semi-early at running back, unless you're playing a swap slate. I was pretty annoyed at the Rico Dowdle like swaps. I mean, I know it's going to happen, but especially in 6-mans, like I was looking at my teams because I was taking him like in 6-mans, at least my punt running backs were basically Rico, Rashad, Chase Brown, but I was in that order. So I was playing Rico because I figured people had late Rashad shares, like 6th round. So I was just taking a Rico knowing that the only people who would have him are people taking Chuba at like 25 or people taking Rico at that same spot late in the week. So, so for the most part, I figured that was the play, and he gets there. Kind of all the running backs get there, which is kind of annoying versus just a few. So I had 15% Rico, 14% Javonte. I was all over those two. I was all over JT. I was all over HN. I also had 18% Saquon, which didn't really get there, but he did have the touchdown catch. And then just kind of punting receiver. I had Trey Tucker, Jacoby Myers. I was playing both the Vegas guys. Neither one got there. Keenan. I was playing AJ Brown a little bit. So, just kind of overall taking some earlier tight end and running back, and then taking some later receivers last week. Yeah,
similar. I kind of did a whole fade on Rico. I was like, everybody's going to have him or swap to him. So I kind of liked my angle, and I almost got home as I swapped everything to JCM. And he was like less than 30% on. So like, when that was charging, I had a whole kind of saved my day because I was ended up getting quite a bit of my roll into the green just because of that swap. Helped me quite a bit.
That damn fumble ruined it. You were charging. I thought you were going to make it, and then the fumble kind of ruined
the Baker teams were coming hard and fast, but I had some with Baker too. Like I had 2 in the top 30, but I didn't quite have the right pieces. And then I had a bunch of AJ Barner, which was like 5% on, and that was starting to crush too for a little while. I just didn't quite have the right combos, but that's what this week's going to be all about: is to lay on the right plays, get on the best plays. And Krutches and myself and Neil, we're all going to punch tickets this week.
That's right.
Let's hope.
So, any other thoughts, Neil, kind of on the spreadsheet? I thought it was a high scoring. I kind of played at 117, but it was a high scoring slate, like for a 10 gamer. A lot of the reason for it is because kind of the chalk smash, the good plays got home.
Yeah, it was a frustrating slate for me because everything smashed except for what I played, which is I had HN as the 101. He didn't really get there. I mean, relative to all the other running backs, like he was fine, but like relative to all the other running backs smashing, it was kind of a letdown. And then the Chargers were just it was kind of a wide range of outcomes with their offensive line. I kind of thought they might just be able to do it against that secondary. And then ultimately just things didn't go quite right. It started off pretty well with the Ladd touchdown early. And then just, the Herbert targeting Keenan in the end zone, throws a pick, and the whole thing just kind of went sideways there. So not a great week for me last week for one that I felt pretty good about going into it. So that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, same thing as six mans. I was all over the right plays at all the positions other than quarterback, I think. I think six mans was a little different. I had pretty even with the field on Justin Fields, but in 12 mans, I had Justin Fields, like 9%, but I was like full fading him for the most part, unless he fell to the 6th round in six mans. And so like, I didn't even realize he got there because they weren't even showing the game on Red Zone. I was like, this is like, he might be benched this game just to like save him at nothing else, or he gets benched because he's terrible.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, he scored 25 fantasy points, which I understand is out, but not in like a 44-10 game where it's like, you expect him to get there in garbage time of like a 2-score game. So that just like kind of ruined my 6-man day. And then obviously I was just all over like JD, Herbert, and Kyler. And even like Dak, I was off of in 6 mans because he had a pretty high ADP. Same thing with Goff, where it's like I'd rather have the guy who projects exactly the same at lower ownership. So just a pretty bad. I mean, I think everyone was on that. Like Pete talked about it on Monday too. So I think, it's just one of those things where sometimes you take the right play as far as like your projection and their ownership, and then they just obviously play like trash, which I mean, I shouldn't be surprised. I hate Kyler Murray and I didn't take him in best ball and I refuse to fall for the trap. But in dailies, I'm like, well, maybe this is the week. It's Tennessee, and then it's just never the week. So
Never the week for Kyler. Always projects really well. Always like looks like a great play in best ball. He's always like at the top of the rankings, like way like he falls way past where places have him ranked. So I end up taking Kyler, and then it's just like, why did I do this again?
Yeah, I never did it in best ball. Luckily, I just didn't trust Drew Petzing, and I never had Marvin Harrison. But I fall for the psyop every week. Even this week, I'm like, ooh, Indy, like playing from behind, like could be a fun matchup. And then I'm just like, why am I doing this to myself?
Yeah. Well, let's get on the best plays. Let's play the good plays, and hopefully we can attack some angle. So kind of pivoting to week 6, another 10-game slate. It seems a very similar setup to last week for the most part. A lot of interesting Q tags, especially at the top with Lamar. How are you playing Lamar this week in these early? It's only 10% filled right now, and not a lot of draft boards been drafted yet. So there's a lot of the contest to be played. Are you clicking kind of Lamar Q tag, or are you letting that kind of go by the wayside?
Yeah. Like on Monday, I like to literally just like write down a bullet point on each position when I first take a look at the slate, just to like get me oriented. And so the first thing I looked at this week was that I basically hated anything outside like the top 7 quarterbacks. Running back, like it always does on a 10-game slate, is going to get dry pretty quickly. And then my notes was that like I love the top 4 tight ends, but I think the late tight ends could also like, there's not trash for a 10-game slate. Like John, who's going undrafted, not that he's like a great play, but he can easily score 2 touchdowns, right? Like, it kind of sucks Brenton Strange is out because I loved his role growing and he was completely free. And I think that would have been like a smash for me this week. So that was like my first thing. And then tight ends kind of always the punt position in a sense for me. I'll take Puka, I'll take JSN, and then I'll mix in Jamar Chase and Devontae and Pickens at the 1-2 turn. But I think like I hate to do it, man, but like Jacoby's just a smash this week again. I'm just gonna keep playing Raiders until I lose like all my bankroll, because I mean you're getting a receiver that's like going to project on ETR as like a top 12 wide receiver overall. And then, so I know we're talking everything, but that was like my high level thing. It's like you're getting the whole thing is you're getting both San Fran Q tag wide receivers that could absolutely smash for completely free. So like it's not just like the Rashid Shaheed punts. You're getting like, Cooper Kupp, whose volume's kind of increasing a little bit. You're getting both San Fran guys. You're getting Olave. You're getting Rashid. You're getting, Jacoby and Trey Tucker late if you want. So including Brock Bowers late. So like, we'll chat about it, I'm sure. So that was like my initial view. So for quarterbacks, I was trying to prioritize the top like 7 or 8. I have found myself falling a little bit back to some of the later ones, but yeah, I think I have like 8% Lamar. I'm just taking him in the 6 if he's there. I don't really reach on him.
Yeah.
But I think you just have to figure out where your like risk reward is for where you want to swap. But I would argue that the fact that their season probably like rides on this game means that there's like a better than indicated chance. I know initially last week was reported 2 to 3 week type injury. But I mean, the Rams are a Super Bowl contender. They're coming off a loss. If you lose to them with your backup, like you're going to be 1-5. Like even if you're projected to win every single game after that, like things happen and you're like at best, a 7-loss team, assuming you mix in a couple unlucky losses. So, I think everyone's kind of on board of like, this is the season from hell, like Niners year last year for the Ravens. So I think if there's any chance Lamar plays, like this is probably a much better week to take the Q tag on him than last even. And so, I don't want to steam him up, but his ADP is falling. It was at like 18, 20. Now it's at 37. And, I think if you're taking him in the 5th or 6th round, that's fine. There's not a ton of other upside back there. So like if you swap off of them, who cares?
Yeah, no, I agree. I read an article that he was like really trying to go out of his way to play last week. So I think it might be kind of like the slate was crazy on like Tuesday into Wednesday with all the inactives and people going on IR, all the running back slate kind of got flipped on its head. I think that it could kind of go that way this week. So I've been kind of playing the Q tag game with Bowers. Bowers is probably unlikely to play, but he's really fallen into that 5th, 6th round too. So you can kind of swap on, like you said, some tight ends late. So, but yeah, I concur on your kind of overall take on the quarterback position. It seems like you kind of want to get on the top half of it. I do have to say Sam Darnold is dealing. And there's some injuries late. So I think Darnold doubles is something that I wrote down. JSN and tack on the tight end late was something that I think could be an interesting play this week.
Yeah, I think both. That whole game is fine. Like Trevor Lawrence late, if you want to stack him, you could even run him solo. We know he's going to run the ball.
Yep.
And then the other one, like I'm just going to keep falling for it. Honestly, is that like I don't think Geno Smith is good, but I know he has a 26+ point ceiling in his range of outcomes. And if I'm going to get the like 5th round Brock Bowers and, something like that, or Jacoby, like, and there's no other quarterbacks there, I'm just going to tack him on. It's not pretty, I think, but I'm kind of a fan of them this week. I think Tennessee is like so poorly coached and came off of a lucky win that I think Vegas isn't as bad as they have been the last couple of games, and Tennessee is much worse than this most fluky win of all time they just got. So I would be interested in Raiders pieces also, just whether it's the running back or any of the other ones.
Yeah, I rewatched that game today, and Myers had 2 red zone or in the end zone targets. Both of them just went off his hands. He could have had 2 touchdowns. And I think everyone would feel a lot different about Jacoby Myers if he caught those balls this week. And like you said, Tennessee's just an open, pretty much an open defense. You can run on them, you can throw on them. So they won't get boat raced and be so one-dimensional. That will help Geno in that bad offensive line if they can kind of be a little bit more, setting up play action and having a threat to run the ball versus when you're down 30-3 at halftime. They just know that you just need to play catch up. So it's easy just to play prevent and blitz a little bit and throw it underneath and make the tackle and just keep the clock moving. So I like that shot.
Yeah, there's one other vomit quarterback option I'll throw out there. I just kind of came to the realization yesterday, but like the only weird thing about it is it's hard to stack because, and it's Bryce Young. Like he finally showed a little bit of life after I was like absolutely trashing him on Twitter during the first half last week. And he comes to life, and we've seen these spurts he goes on like he did in the last 4 games last year where he's like not a fraud. And yes, he's playing the Miami defense, but now he's playing Dallas's defense, which is very easy to beat as well, especially in the air. So I think it's interesting, but I also think that Tet is just like way overpriced this week. Like he's going at like 7 overall. I've seen him go at like 12, 13 a lot. And I love Tet. He's like one of my 30% wide receivers in best ball. But like when Mike Leone drops his projections Wednesday night, Tet is going to be ranked behind Jacoby Myers, like, or next to it. Like it's not going to be a big, and you're getting 63 overall ADP on Myers and 13 overall on Tet. So like and I'm not even saying I don't even use ETRs, but they drive the market. And so like, it's just not the value I want to chase when like maybe later in the week I can get Tet at 24, 25 or later and then stack Bryce. So I haven't been clicking that at all, but I am keeping my eye on it because I think Bryce could be interesting against Dallas in a trailing game script at home. It could be, the grossest 25-point game you've ever seen.
That's what I'm hoping for. I actually took it already in one of the 3 drafts that I've done. The one that I think Math was in, the one that I started with I got Josh Jacobs, did a Chargers double, and was hoping to get Herbert to fall to me. But then when Herbert didn't fall to me and other games that I've been kind of eyeing kind of went off, it got to me, and I ended up going with Bryce Young and then Tommy Tremble. I think is actually the kind of the backstack that you can consider, just because late round tight ends, I think he's in the mix there. Just he ran even more routes last week than he had the week prior. I think he's actually a pretty capable pass catching option. It's all contingent on Jatavian Sanders being out again, and if Sanders comes back, then it's not going to work out with Tommy Tremble. But if Sanders is out again, which I think he might be, I think you can do it with Tommy Tremble there. And then that one I ended up throwing on Jalen Tolbert as my 6th round pick. So super gross end to that draft for me, but hoping for the correlation to work out.
Yeah. Javonte Williams, Tet minis. It was another thing I wrote down that I wanted to try to get to this week.
Nice.
And I think one thing, like, as the week goes on, a lot of people kind of get sick of clicking the same button. So you start to see the shift in the second, sometimes 3rd round, and you can find that right room where you can find some good falling values later on in the week. So it's kind of the pros and cons of always being drafting, is finding those right rooms. So anything to shout out at running back? I mean, I feel like, the meta is just to get a running back in the 1st round. Sometimes you can tack on 2. Henry's kind of an interesting one. If Lamar does play, I think that might open him up. And again, the Stanley injury, he was another one that was limited. And then he had that, I think it was a Saturday, he got ruled out. So I'm thinking Stanley's probably back, and so offensive line should get a little bit better. So the Henry click is everybody doesn't know what to do. So I've been kind of taking advantage of that early because I feel like he might move up boards once projections come out.
Yeah, I think running back might actually be the most interesting position with the Q tags. I've seen people, and I sent this in our private DMs, but people are just taking Rico Dowdle like 17 overall, and it makes no sense to me. Like he might be the backup again this week, and I'm a huge Rico Dowdle fan. I don't have like any Chuba in best ball, but I mean like it's a calf injury that he played through. Then it got worse, so they sat him just to be careful. I agree that like the way Rico showed out means they don't have to rush Chuba back, but he's still the guy they paid, and they're going to like continue using him. Even if I do think it's going to be more of a split. Like my thesis the entire time was Rico would get a lot of work, and that's why I'm not clicking Chuba there. But like, if you take him at 17, like I take Chuba, I get the swap if he doesn't play. If you take Rico and Chuba plays, you're getting 8 carries, right? I mean, it's very weird to me. Rashad White, you can say the same, but I think there's much more indication, especially with the new injury that Bucky revealed, that he's not going to play. So I think Rashad is a fine click. And the other one that I still think like before last night, I was just clicking. If you were in my drafts, you saw it. I was just clicking Travis Etienne nonstop because he's getting like 15 to 18 carries a game in an efficient offense. And he's facing Seattle, which is a good defense, but not, I think it's a fun game script. Same thing. I was clicking Kenneth Walker. I have them on the same team a lot of times, even they're both big playbacks. And the other one is now he's already moved up a lot, but I mean, Michael Carter saw 18 carries, and there is a 0% chance of him losing work this week due to Amari DiMercado's late game antics. Like Amari DiMercado might be on the team, but I think it's just going to be Michael Carter, and then you'll get Bam Knight. Like there's not a reason for him to play Imari unless he like feels bad about the video that leaked and he wants to like make it up to him, or unless he's Mike Vrabel and he just wants to like feed his terrible running backs, then then he might give it to him just to get his confidence up. But I mean, I don't see a reason. Like same thing we saw with AD Mitchell. Like you don't do that and then play the next game, especially when you cost your team a win and now you're 1-5 and on the hot seat. So
yeah,
I think like Michael Carter's locked into 15 carries, all the work depending on what kind of game script you're looking at, and he's running routes too. So
yeah. 23 opportunities with 18 rushes and 5 receptions. So that's a lot of volume, and that's what we like to play usually in these draft games. Get those volume running backs. Anything at the top end that you don't? I know it seems like a lot of people are taking Jacobs over Etienne. I thought that was kind of interesting. Kind of probably chasing the projected points out of Green Bay. I think they are projected to score 4 touchdowns. I think the last time I saw.
I'm taking Jacobs over HN personally. I think just the matchup and the volume for Jacobs, and it's a script that should be great for Jacobs. So HN, we've seen back-to-back weeks. Like, yeah, he's getting targeted a lot. Actually, 2 weeks ago he wasn't, but 7 targets last week, and he's still just not really doing much with it. This isn't full PPR. So to me, it's Jacobs over HN.
Yeah, I concur.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've probably mixed both of them. I think I have it in order on my ranks, but Jacobs just flipped HN, so I should probably fix it. So I have some HN at 4, but I think I'm just like McCaffrey, Puka, JT, or JT I think could be 2 as well. And then Jacobs, HN. I think in a positive game script against that defense, I'm probably fine just jamming a running back who's going to see goal line touches. I still think the Chargers defense is very good. So a little bit less interest in playing the, running back there, but I do think he can still, get a wide receiver target share. And so it's kind of like the Christian McCaffrey play where it's like, if he's getting 8 catches a game, like the floor is there, that's for sure. And I think there are times in this tournament where you can get by with like a 15-point game on the lower scoring week. So he's kind of like tied into that role, which is nice, but I think it's fine to like mix both of them. But yeah, I think the top 2 are pretty clear. And then everything else up to the 1-2 turn, I think is fine. I was clicking Judkins when he was like 20 ADP at the turn, which feels really bad considering I have none of them in best ball, but he's a good player. But yeah, so I think all of that's fine. Henry, I think, is fine as a bet in an upside wins type tournament. If he does, he does, and you're not going to win anyway. But yeah, I don't see a reason to push up receiver there. I mean, I think I still like the idea of like min 1 Rams wide receiver. So I have been mixing in some Devontae on teams that, especially we can get into this in the receivers too, but in a week where Puka went so nuclear, you might think they come in with more of a game plan to like take him away. And then we know this secondary is like atrocious. So like they can get beat down the field more. And I think it could just be like the Adams 20-point week. So I definitely don't want to be out this week against that defense on downfield stuff. So so I'm kind of clicking all the running backs in order there and then mixing in sometimes RB, sometimes RB wide receiver at the turn. Very rarely I'll do wide receiver, and then hope to get like ETN, Kenneth Walker at the next turn. So it just kind of depends.
Yeah, one shout. I feel like I owe it to the community after last week. Javonte Williams, born and raised, went to school in North Carolina, going home for the first time.
There it is.
So that's one of those narrative streets. If it hits twice in a week, you can thank us.
Go back to it.
Because I thought that was, he's got all the work, but like Genty has probably more talent, and Genty's got a soft matchup, but he doesn't have the offensive line. So I can maybe see that flipping once projections come out, but maybe not. I don't know. So that's one I'm kind of thinking about. I like to try to be over the market on both. It all depends on draft spot, but I think both of them are in good spots.
Yeah, no, I think Javonte will stay ahead. He's in a better scheme, I think. So,
yeah. Awesome. All right, let's get to wide receivers before we get in the draft room here. Everything that you shouted, I think Puka for sure is going to smash. I think JSN can smash. All these guys, Puka is just right now, he's on fire. Baker's looking for him everywhere. I rewatched that game today. They're just doing so many fun things with JSN and Mbuka. Like, those are just 2 good coaching staffs. getting these guys in great matchups and great parts of the field that their quarterbacks love to throw the ball to. So it's just plus EV to kind of continue to bet on these guys, even though projections, like I don't think projections really loved Mbuka last week, but I think he's just one of those outliers that projections are going to take a while to ramp up to understand his real role in the offense.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I'm out on him. I've seen him go like 4 overall, 7 overall. He could smash and bury me, but I mean, I can't, like, I don't play the game scared, so that's fine. Yeah. Like, even before the Flacco trade, which I don't think changes that much, I think it does boost Chase a little bit. And my grouping was Mixon, Puka, and JSN at their ADPs. I still prefer running backs, but I'm going to mix them in. And then Mixon, Chase, Pickens, and Devontae at the 1-2 turn. And I'm not really mixing in Ibuka, but not that it matters because people are just taking him at like 7 overall. But I guarantee you when it comes out and the Sharps run their VORP calculations, it's going to be running back that drops off way more than wide receiver. For sure. I can guarantee you that the top 4 tight ends are going to project insanely good. Although I do think there's plenty of good punt options. And then last week, quarterback was super flat, but I think this week you could see even more of a drop in quarterbacks. But I mean, obviously you're still going to get points out of the late ones. So I would argue that you're still prioritizing running back and tight end probably over wide receiver in like a general meta sense. So, you know, I'm taking CeeDee Lamb even past like 30. I'm willing to mix it in. That's the 1Q I'm playing. I mean, I guess I'm playing all of them. Mike Evans, I'm not like super interested in, which I think they don't need to rush him back. I mean, Egbuka's balling out and Godwin's playing well, and they have Sterling Shepard playing well. I don't think they want to do what they did last time and re-aggravate it, and then he's out for IR stint. So, I mean, I'm mixing in. I also think like his efficiency seems to drop off a little bit this year too, and now you get more of a crowded room. Like, what's the upside when you do win on that? I think it's a little lower than people might be accounting for. So I think for me, it's like really hyper target the San Fran Q's, Jacoby Myers, T. Higgins is in play, and then, you know, Godwin, Pittman, all of those guys. A couple things I don't love is the Green Bay wide receiver prices seem really pushed up, which makes no sense to me. They haven't shown any ceiling, and I love, you know, I'm way overweight both Golden and Dobbs in best ball. But I mean, Dobbs is like a goal line running back right now. He just scores 1-yard touchdowns. So what's like his target ceiling along with that? And then I think the reason they're pushed up is because Jordan Love's insane price, which I'd rather play through Josh Jacobs anyway. And so I've done Jordan Love when he falls to like 30 or 40, and then I just take him naked or do Tucker Kraft, in my opinion, if you're going to do it. I think that's the guy who can separate. I don't think, as bullish as I am on Golden, I mean, it's going to take a big play plus some target volume to get to an optimal score, I think. And then, you know, they're going 100% drafted, which I would rather take Ricky Pearsall all day over that, who can go for 102 or something like that. So, keep an eye on those practice reports, because I think the slate's going to get flipped here in the next 24, 48 hours with some wide receivers back into the pool. And I agree. I mean, I think Green Bay, for the most part, they're getting about 62 plays a game. They're not like super fast, and they're playing a team that really tries to slow it down. So, I mean, that game, if they get up early, I just don't see that game really popping off on a high play total, kind of like what the Tampa Bay Seattle game was, you know, when you had like 600 passing yards of offense with those guys. So I kind of like to play through the Jacobs side too, and let everybody fight over the Green Bay guys and get some good falling values on some other good players that have probably a higher chance to pop off in a better game environment. Yeah, I mean, to be clear, I have Love in the top tier of quarterbacks that I would want to take. I'm just not going to prioritize him because I know he's not going to project any better than another quarterback just because of the team total. And I do think the best way to actually play him is just naked, since most people will try to stack him one way or another. And I think there's a chance, especially if Christian Watson is practicing, if he plays, I mean, you're looking at like 5 wide receivers scoring 12 or less fantasy points maybe. So
Yeah.
I think you can easily get 25 out of him with no receiver cracking more than 12 or 15. So I think your shots are way better elsewhere. So I think if you're going to play Love, I just play him naked or with Tucker Kraft. And then I think then you go from there.
Yeah, no, I agree. It could be one of those. It's just really spread out, but it's he gets the touchdowns through the air. I like that shout. Another kind of good decision point is the Chargers. We didn't really talk about the running back, so I was thinking we could kind of talk about the Chargers passing attack a little bit more, because I think with that O-line, the Chargers running back, Vidal got all the short line or short goal to goal stuff in the fourth quarter, and any short, like third and short stuff. Vidal got all that. And then the other running back there, the main one everyone's tripping over their face for, Haskins, is, he'll probably get a lot of the base stuff. But I just feel like it's going to be just again a high pass rate over expected kind of spot for the Chargers. So it really opens up those wide receivers. But again, these guys are getting drafted 100% of the time. So part of me wants to be a little contrarian and say maybe this game doesn't quite shoot out, but it is against Miami. It's a smash spot. So I'm struggling with this decision. If I pick one guy or maybe pick two guys, or do I just sprinkle all three? I need some help on this one, Krutches.
I have no help for you. I think it's so hard to play this game because let's say you have even if you have a mid-round pick or a turn pick at the 1-2 turn, like if you take Herbert and don't reach on a receiver, he's not going to come back. And you can't take a receiver and push Herbert. So you're basically pricing up this game, and just taking, maybe the best way to play is if you're at the, 11, 12 spot, you can take them at 36, 37. It's not like an overpay there. But I mean, all the Charger receivers to me project the same as the 6th round wide receivers for the most part. And, one of them might pop off or it might just be like last week. So it's really tough for me. I would rather probably fade until the prices change after projections drop, in my opinion. That's how I lean right now. I think they're kind of in like an awkward zone of pricing to me. So
yeah, I agree. I was kind of shocked jumping him yesterday, and then a couple that I did today. I was like, man, it's everybody's fighting for him. It's all Green Bay and Chargers. We're all just, the lobby's just really hot for him right now. So it's an interesting.
I've been taking a lot of it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. I was gonna say, as far as the running backs go, I'm probably not the guy to ask. I don't know. I haven't really thought that through. I was doing a lot of drafts before I really even thought that much about it. I know he was a favorite of everyone in best ball last year. I think Kamani Vidal is like really bad at football. I think he's never impressed me on film. Like he's so slow, not shifty. He's not big. I get his like metrics coming out were great. Like JJ Zacharyson loved him as a sleeper, all this, but I've just like never seen anything on film that's impressed me. I wanted them to keep Rocket Sanders. And honestly, if he was on the team, I'd probably be drafting him this week. He's big, explosive. So to me, Vidal's not in the pool. I get that. So to me, I mean, obviously in this case, you have to play either Hassan Haskins or no one, but I kind of love that because then now I can just fade it as a committee and not take Haskins. So I'll probably do that. And it's probably not sharp to fade both the pass and the run game on this same team, but there's still 20 teams on the slate and other people can outscore them. So we'll see where the pricing falls after all the projections drop tomorrow, midday and later in the day. So I mean, I'm just kind of waiting and seeing on that. I've done 25 so far and I'm just kind of not really in on too much of it. I've taken some Herbert because I think Herbert's fine naked too. So I take him first and push wide receiver. If nothing comes back, cool. I can still get 50 and a touchdown rushing out of Herbert.
I think it's all going to come down to the health of the offensive line, or not all, but like that would be like the worst case scenario for you if you're fading is we get Joe Alt back, Mekhi Becton back, because their backup offensive line was just terrible. I posted a screenshot on Twitter. There was like Pipkin returned to the game, and then it was like 2 penalties in a row and allowed us. I don't know, just like the worst. They were pretty terrible. So if we get the starting offensive lineman back against this Miami defense, that's when I think you're really going to want the Chargers if that happens. Yeah.
And Herbert's running a lot too. So it's just like maybe you just take Herbert and then you got him and then you just go off game and say that game, they maybe put up 30 points and it's just kind of one-sided game. And then you get a secondary stack somewhere else, or a secondary game environment back somewhere else, and that's the difference maker that you need. Herbert gets you there, and the other game punches you the ticket, gets you that top percent. Anything quick on? We kind of covered it a little bit early on tight end. I completely agree with your shout outs earlier on the top. I'm a little bit more Warren over McBride, just because overall utilization and just overall offense environment is just a whole lot better right now than it is with McBride. But McBride will smash at some point in time. It's just when is the question. And then Jake's a very strong play.
Yeah, I don't blame anyone for taking any of the top four. I would probably have Kraft first overall, just like gut feel. Like I want the player on the team total scoring 24 if I'm going to take any part of that passing game. Yeah. So I think that's like my gut favorite play. I think Warren's going to be involved as he always is. They also have a good offense entirely, and they can spread the ball around, which, I mean, Green Bay can too, but the team total's higher in Green Bay. Yeah. And then Ferguson, you're looking at it, he's obviously been a smash every time like CD's been out, so I can't blame anyone for taking him. And I've been burned by McBride so many times. I'm going to mix him in, and hopefully we just get a discount this week, and people are just so over some of these guys like him and Jacoby that even after ETR projects them amazing, that they're still going to be cheaper than they should. Yeah. The very first thing I saw this week at tight end, in my opinion, was that Njoku is massively mispriced to me. It's only a 1-game sample, but we've seen even in the preseason that Dylan Gabriel likes to get the ball out quick. He's pretty accurate on these short passes, and he just hyper-targeted both tight ends. I'm a fan in Fader and Best Ball, but, especially Njoku. I mean, they both got a touchdown. They both got, kind of a design touchdown. And most of the target share went to them. And, we've seen all the stats, but like Judy hasn't had a good game outside of Jameis Winston playing there. Tillman's their wide receiver 1 realistically, but he's hurt. So you're getting, Jamari Thrash, and then they're playing both tight ends simultaneously. And I also think that Tomlin's always going to have a solid defense. So I think you're going to see maybe even more dink and dunk, kind of similar to Brian Flores' week. Obviously the defense has been roughed up this week, but yeah, to me, it didn't really make sense that he was that cheap, considering we have a 1-game sample of him seeing 9 targets and some design stuff on both screens and red zone. So that seemed really cheap to me. I was never in on the Barner thing, but I mean, he looks like a really good player, to be honest. I mean, he looks like a giant human being out there, and he's always been more the blocking tight end. So I'm probably still not going to get to him. I'll see where like the smarter people than myself project him at, but we know that Clint Kubiak is going to rotate tight ends. We saw it in New Orleans last year. So I'm probably just never getting to the Seattle tight ends. And if they burn me, they burn me. And then I think,
sorry to interrupt. It's the Cleveland and the Seattle. It's the same kind of offense. It's just, they're running way more 12 than the rest of the NFL. So those guys are just always on the field.
They do for sure. But I think, it's just kind of a little bit more of a gamble. And we've seen Njoku's talent before. I do think Barner, most of his stuff we've seen from him has been a Gronk red zone role, which is pretty impressive that he's just scoring touchdowns like crazy. But, I'm a boring spreadsheet guy in that sense. I'm probably going to end up fading him just because of the overall workload. And then the TQs, like I'm going to click Brock Bowers again. He's week to week, but he was playing through it for one. Then they rested him. And then the team's still playing horrible. Like I think there's a chance that he's like, okay, I feel better this week. Let's play. And until the reports drop that he's not playing, I'm just going to click him in the 6th or 5th round. Cause if I don't know, it is still a bet on talent. And so I think Hunter Henry is still really good, especially if I do the push up Drake May. And I just, I think Diggs falls into a slightly overpriced spot, even though I do like him and he's coming on more healthy. So I find myself clicking some Hunter Henry, some David Njoku, and some Bowers. I have them in the same tier. And then Kittle is probably not going to play, but he's completely free. So if you just want to take a swap, you can still just click George Kittle for free. Right. So I'm just going to eat all the Qs as if it's like an NBA tag, a slate, and just swap off everything if I need to. It's just a gamble back there anyway. And sometimes it's more fun to just let the swaps take control and see if you win or not.
Yeah. Like the Badge Bros say it all the time, you're just staying on the clock and you can make your decisions later. Just make sure you're saving those boards. You know who's available for you. So you set your queue up right. Well, excellent shout out. Neil, anything to add as we just cleaned up kind of what we think is how we want to tackle week 6 here?
No, I already mentioned Tommy Tremble is kind of interesting. Taysom Hill had 6 carries last week. Didn't have a target, but you never know. Maybe he gets a little bit more involved as time goes on. So as a kind of late round guy, but in general, I think I just agree with everything Krutches just said.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's jump in. Krutches, if you want to join us or if you want to continue to get your volume up, it's completely up to you. I'll head to the lobby here.
You guys see Nyheim Hines just joined the Chargers practice squad? I wonder if he factors in this week at all.
Maybe.
He played in the preseason, so he could definitely be active as a pass catching guy, I would think. But if they want 3 up there.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I got to go grab my phone. I'll be right back.
All right.
Sorry, guys.
We'll get into it. Nice. I guess Hassan Haskins. So you're not taking any Hassan Haskins Krutches, it sounds like.
I haven't yet. I'll be a slave to the projections once they drop. So if he projects amazing, I totally forgot that Vidal wasn't in the player pool earlier in the week. So
yeah,
I kind of like the fade more because now it's not like, well, I'm fading 1 and 1 probably gets there for cheap. Now it's like, well, 1's not even in the pool. So if Vidal gets 2 touchdowns, then I don't care. And then Haskins is still just kind of catching some passes and running some between the 20 stuff. So I'll probably have even more reason to fade him this week, especially if he's getting owned pretty hard in 12 man. So I would rather have I'm willing to lose money on Chase Brown again with Joe Flacco there. We saw him dump the ball a ton of times to Dylan Sampson. So obviously that could be P. Ryan's role, but if they're ever so slightly better, he's still going to be a workhorse. And so, I think there's plays you can get to like Tony Pollard and him later that are fine. So
yeah, you can get some really good running back volume pretty late. That just has not worked out so far. Chase Brown, probably the best example of it. Which I've done some of that, has not worked out yet, but
yeah, I also just don't feel like I need to get there because I can just push Michael Carter up to the 3rd round, click him, and then just get my wide receivers late. So that's just the build I'm always going to end up on. I'm also just willing to click Chuba Hubbard late because he might just be the starting running back, and then you also just screw every single Rico Dowdle team in the pool. So it's kind of a leverage play, if anything.
Right.
Same thing with Jaylen Warren. You could also do Kenneth Gainwell if you want, but you're kind of risking the whole being a backup and having to play him.
Sloppy looks weird.
Hit go to draft.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Nice.
How's that looking?
Looks good.
Perfect. Friends and family.
Yeah, a lot of familiar faces in here.
Who's the 1 or 2 hole? Is it Dan? Is that Dan?
Yeah.
Hot Scissors.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll see what they pick. I do think there's a pretty nasty teardrop after 2. Okay, so I think that we want JT. I think I'm leaning towards taking him 2 overall just because of he's got such a good role, man. It's insane. He should have scored 4 touchdowns last week if they just didn't give a pity one to Amir Abdullah. It's absolutely insane, his ceiling. And I pointed this out before last week when some people weren't taking him 1. People were taking Gibbs 1 in 6 man. It was crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
So, I don't think there's this. Yeah, I can't even think of a single week this year where he's not going to be. You could easily have him 1-1 over McCaffrey. I think McCaffrey's passing role, keeps him up there. But the week that he failed last week, JT did. He had 13 fantasy points with a 58-yard touchdown called back because of the holding that didn't even impact the play. So his worst week of the year would have been 23 fantasy points, basically. It's pretty insane. And that's against the Rams defense, who's been really good against the run too. So I think they're getting Arizona this week, who, Tony Pollard managed to score a touchdown, which is a pretty impossible, I think, for Tony Pollard based on how I've been losing money on him. So if Tony Pollard was scoring touchdowns on the Cardinals, I'm willing to play JT at 2 overall.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and their offense is they got a great scheme right now. So what they're trying to do a lot is to open up a passing tack, a quick passing tack to get dimes in rhythm early. And then once they get up by a little bit, because the defense has been very optimistic and getting a lot of turnovers, and then JT just pretty much then kind of salts the whole entire game away. You look all of his second half of all these games, he's just racking up all these yardages and touchdowns just because they're playing from an advanced position the whole entire game. So they can. I got a feeling they're going to do that. Just again, Vegas thinks they're going to do that again with the way that spread's looking with the team total. I think they're the second or third highest team total of the game. I think JT is a great click for us this week.
Yeah, nice start here. The downside to picking at the front of the board is that we're not going to get another running back we want in the second round, which I guess maybe at this point, the way the ADP is moving, you can't even write like in the middle of the board. You're not going to get Derrick Henry every time. So we have a decision in the second round.
Well, yeah, kind of like what Krutches said, and I did that in my last draft too. Is I grabbed Michael Carter in the third round.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I care a lot less about who my RB2 is this slate. It sounds kind of weird, but like if I get JT, like I'm probably like there's a good chance I'm locking up 20 fantasy points right there. And so, whether we get a faller, like I'm actually not that excited about Derrick Henry. I'm more just taking him because I know he's still going to have the role, and on these thin weeks, I want the players with the roles. And so, I'm not like begging for Henry to fall back. If he does, sweet, but yeah, I'm kind of probably fading the mid-range here of like the Rico range, even Rashad White probably. And so, yeah, we can push up, an ETN or a Kenneth Walker, which I think are both fun plays in a good game. And then we can do the like running back tight end start if you want to do that, or the running back push up a quarterback and do that. So yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting spots from the early draft slots that I'm probably more excited about than the late, because I don't think the pool runs out of wide receivers at pick 72. Like you can still get, like if everyone drafts sharply and takes all the receivers I want, like you can still get like Rashid Shaheed or Trey Tucker, like, which I'm more than fine with.
Yeah.
Are you guys doing any just one running back builds this week, since it seems like it's fairly thin?
Yeah.
I would have to see
1-1-3-1. Seems like a good week for it, but
yeah. I kind of also I don't mind Travion Henderson as kind of like fourth, fifth round. I feel like he'll probably move up. With Gibson's injury, I feel like part of that was they had to kind of game plan. McDaniels is very game by game plan, so they don't really pivot on the fly when injuries happen mid game. So I think Travion's going to have quite a bit of a role against the Saints, and the Saints. Pretty good defense, not great, but it's going to be a high pace game the way that the Saints play, and I think the Patriots don't mind playing with some pace themselves. So that's a game that I've kind of targeted and figure out how to play with Drake May, little Travion. I agree on the dig stuff. It's a steep price, but 2 straight weeks. If you get that 20-point score this week, it's going to matter. You're going to like it.
Yeah, I don't think it's that steep. It's more just like he's an awkward range, I would describe it as. I almost kind of prefer Waddle, because if he's ever healthy, I mean, we have seen him like as a wide receiver 1 play really well. So it really just depends. But even both of those, I'm kind of uncomfortable with. It just depends.
Yeah,
this is where I've been falling into the Chargers, because I'm like, man, this is gross right here. Especially if Waddle goes off the board, then it's like, I guess I'll go QJ or whatever. But happy to follow your lead here if you want to go.
So I don't mind grabbing the tight end. I don't mind. We can or your boy Kraft still, and then grabbing like an ETN on the way back or a White on the way back. If we want to do that.
Did Jordan Love go? Yeah.
He's here.
Kraft. No, let's not take Love first. Let's take Kraft and then see if Jordan Love comes back. We can try something a little weird.
Yeah,
I think. Don't quote me on this, but I think Cincinnati's also inflating tight end production pretty decently. So the fact that he's coming off the injury, so he's probably more healthy now after the bye, and we knew he had that knee issue, or I think it was a knee, that almost held him out, and then he pushed through it. So I think you're getting him off a bye where he's going to have more time to rest up, and we know he can go for 101 or 102 as the leading receiver on that team. I'm very fine not getting Love, but the fact that he falls here, we can just do the stack and then forget about all the receivers if we want to do that.
I like that.
Nice.
We'll be a little thinner at RB2 if we end up doing it, but I think there's, like I said, more than enough options, and I'm not like pushing to get one of the mid-tier running backs.
Yeah. I like this. I like this start.
So then it could come back down to like Chase Brown versus Chris Godwin kind of stuff. Is that like, are you still inclined to go to an RB2 if that's the decision point you're making? Like if it is Chase Brown versus one of those, later receivers that has clear upside, but maybe doesn't project as well?
Yeah, I mean, I took a look at my teams, and all 25 of them were 2 running back teams. So I think early week I lean running back because I know they're going to project higher. Yep. And then once I actually have hard projections in my hand that I can reference, then I'll start being like, okay, well, this wide receiver projects just as well. Like, let's use an example of a week where like, okay, I'm picking between like David Montgomery and Trey Tucker, and like Trey Tucker projected the same. Then I'm like, okay, cool. I'll break ties, especially since a lot of people like doing 1-2-2-1. It kind of gets me off of it. Yeah. But I think as my standard default, like 1-2-2-1 is still stronger because the RB24 is probably scoring, like projecting for 12 or 13, and then the wide receiver like 30 or 24 is like probably 9 or 11 or something like that. So it's usually still a point or two lower.
Yep. Like Dwayne McFarland has his stuff out at Fantasy Life. It's probably a little early. It's kind of very base numbers, but like Olave is in the same range as Kenneth Walker and Chase Brown, Michael Pittman. They're all roughly 10 points with ceilings of 23 right now.
Yeah, Olave is, I mean, I always make fun of it. Like the year is 2035. He's still on the buy low model. Like, I do think it's like he's going to under project it because I think he's a good player, like a good route runner, but he's just like has bad quarterback play, and he's just like not an alpha, I think. So I think he's always going to kind of show up as an underperformer to the actual metrics. So I think you can kind of like discount his efficiency if you're doing projections. Yeah. But I do agree he's like a giga smash, especially on these thinner slates. If you're getting a guy who's like playing like a top 12 like wide receiver as far as his numbers go, even if he's underperformed, you're still getting a decent shot at a value there. So
yeah, good show. I kind of like that Pat Saints game.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fun. Juwan's tough for me. His roles really kind of dropped off the last few weeks. He did have that little bit of a ankle injury or something when I saw him step awkward in week 2. But then you're also getting the 2 other tight ends back healthy. Yeah. So I think I'm like this week I've been IKBing him lower, just assuming his projection is going to get dinged pretty good this week. So
yeah, Hill's not going to go away. They're going to use Hill. If anything, he was going to go up a little bit in snaps next week, and just I like Kamara to me is undraftable right now. I don't.
Yeah, I think Kamara's a fine like late guy. It's tough because like I'm expecting him to get traded at some point, and he has so much experience in the NFL. It's not like you need to showcase him. Like he's obviously people know what he's capable of, but even in a split backfield, like. Yeah, I was in on him last week for the first time and still nothing really happened. But I think like, what's the meme? Like you can do worse, right? Like I think that's Denny Carter's thing on this thing, Living the Stream. But it's like, well, we can do worse than this. Like you can get the 10 or 12 fantasy points, which is like oftentimes good enough on these thinner slates as an RB2 or a wide receiver 2. Like we saw Jacoby Myers get there for Chad, I think at 5 fantasy points. So
right.
I always like to think of it that way. And when I do play the Dawg Bowl, by the way, it's just like I can miss on one of these guys. Like as long as there's a high floor guy, I can miss on one of these. Like I can't miss on Trey Tucker going for 2, but if I miss on Chris Olave and he has 7 fantasy points, like I'm still live. Like you're not going to be perfect, and I think it's good to think of it that way.
Yep. Now there goes Jacoby. Patrick Barnes. Nez is doing a little 3 wide receivers early with Drake May.
Yeah, I'm curious what the plan is there. Maybe he's going Kamara.
Yeah, I agree with you on Henderson. Like I agree that he's not doing like an in-game thing, but I think it's interesting. Can you look at the running backs for me?
Yeah, Bucky, Kamara, Hubbard, Pollard, Stevens.
Q Pollard. Nah, we need a running back.
Oh, is Nez going to go Trevion? Is that what he's going to do?
Maybe.
Yeah, you can
try Henry too if he needs one.
We got Godwin, Flowers. If we want to, Olave. We could do a little mini with the Saints, New England, if you want. Or
I'd grab Olave and just push him up here, and then see who falls around the turn. I think Zay Flowers is a tough one. Like I like him, but I just don't like. I think I'd rather have Olave knowing who the quarterback is, even.
Yeah.
I had a decent amount of Spencer Rattler last week in Dawg Bowl too. I was kind of on that train. He had a good game, just not good enough. But
yeah, just didn't quite hit that ceiling. But he's been running the offense. They're sneaky. They're competitive. I think it's a good spot this week.
I was all about Jackson Dart last week, and it looked really good early on, and then he didn't really do that much in that game. Love those fast-paced games.
it's always tough for me to draft on stream where I'm like, are we on the clock, by the way? Oh,
We are now.
Is
We are
Chuba
now.
still there?
Chuba?
Yeah.
I believe so. Yes. You want to cue him up? Want to do Chuba? Play the
I like
Q-tag game?
I mean, it's the Rico Dowdle thesis, except that, hey, Chuba actually plays this week, and then if news drops that he's practicing, he's going to just go to what, like 25 ADP?
Yeah.
So
How confident are you that he goes back to his old role after Rico Dowdle had one of the best running back games of all time?
I'm not confident, but it's one of those NFL statements where, like, you're not as good as your last win and you're not as bad as your last loss, where we've seen a wide sample of Rico Dowdle in the NFL, and I have plenty of them in best ball, but I wasn't drafting him for 200-yard games. I was drafting him for like the most disappointing 12 fantasy points that can keep me afloat. So
Score some touchdowns. Touchdowns.
Yeah, I think it was a career game for him, and I think, I don't think Chuba's a great running back, but I do think he's a really good running back on the ground, well above average and much better than Rico. And I think Rico's always been historically an average NFL runner that's just like pretty average yards over expected, etc. So I think the thirst for him, like, realistically, I think he should be going like next to like Pollard and Jaylen Warren, to be honest, even if he was like the lead back. So it's a little bit tough for me to swallow that one. So
yeah, they're considering him day to day. So, like you said, like he could practice. He could be practicing right now for all we know.
Yeah, I mean, it's we have a good sample of like, oh, ankle sprain is this, sprained MCL is 4 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever it is, bone bruise. But it's a calf injury. It just could be like general soreness, and they just kept him out, because it felt a little worse last week, and then, it's not a 2, 3, 4 week injury. So, and if it is, then cool, we just swap, and like we might even have info later, right? I haven't even like thought it through that much, but like, what if we get to Sunday, Jaylen Warren's ruled out, and nobody has Kenneth Gainwell? We swap to him and score 20 fantasy points. Like, it's, there's plenty of good swap options, I think, on the slate. And so, and even if it's not a running back, we can, upload the ETR ranks and swap to Calvin Ridley or Mike Evans or whatever it is that gets ruled in, right, and undrafted. Yeah. So I think there's plenty of good stuff that we can swap to if we need to.
For sure. Yeah.
Even if it's like a Ramondre, right? It's like, oh no, I got Ramondre and his 2 1-yard touchdowns. This is so bad.
Yeah.
Inevitable.
Yeah. He may go in this draft.
Yeah, he's got a 67 ADP, but I just mean like one of them's going, like, some of these running backs are going undrafted, and so we can swap to them.
Yeah. Silas Jackson grabbed a Trayvon in the 6th, paired him with Warren, took the Q on Jackson and the Q on Bowers.
Yeah.
With Chase and Luka.
Nice.
So we need a receiver here at the end, right?
Yeah, we got we're up in like 3 more. And we're gonna take a wide receiver.
Sweet.
So here's our options. We got Ridley, Golden, Shaheed, Higgins, Hunter. We got a Q tab with Evans. I don't think he's going. Boutte, Bourne, Judy, Tucker. And then it really starts to get thin in, like Leggett, Wicks, Bateman.
I'm happy with all the wide receivers, so I don't even need to scroll down too much.
Yeah, and I did like Ridley's role. I mean, and Vegas has been giving it up deep this year, so game should stay close. I think I wrote down Ridley, Judy, or Genty. I would like to get that mini. Chad just takes as we're talking about it. But we can bring it back with T with our stack, and I think that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I know Neil's the correlation guy, so I think I was looking at T. Higgins with possibly Joe Flacco just throwing him moon balls or something. I think that makes sense.
Yeah. Do we think Flacco play? Like, do you think he's going to start on Sunday? Is that what
I know they said they wanted him ready for Sunday. I don't know. I think it's hard to run Jake Browning back out there. I think you lose the locker room, to be honest. Like, I think that's why they did it early, and they're like, we want him to be ready, and they'll bring out a more vanilla package. I think the other option here is like, this is where I don't mind Matthew Golden, where he is cheap and free, because it's like this is where I talk about needing 5 good players. Like, one can kind of dud. So like, if Matthew Golden has this stat line where it's like 9 fantasy points, you're still live, but if Love Giga smashes, then it's up to you, Neil, whichever one or Math that you want.
I go Golden here, but you do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of like the Golden play. And you're like, okay, one of these guys Giga smashes, the other one scores, 10 fantasy points. And then it also helps like Jordan Love get to 30 fantasy points or whatever it is. So I kind of like just onslaughting it like that a little bit. And then, but yeah, I think either one's fine if you wanted to play it. So
yeah, I like it. I think it opens that ceiling that he's the separator on the slate.
Yeah.
And we drafted it that way. Yeah.
I think it's a big difference between, like I said, when I talked at the top of the show, where like Golden and Dobbs were going like the late 30s, it seemed like, to start the week. Since I know the people that set the ADPs in the 12-man seem to love to put like Jordan Love at like 4 overall for some weird reason. So I think, at that point I'm like completely out. But if you're getting last round Dobbs or last round Golden, and you're just tacking it onto a double, as in like, hey, this team's projected to score 30 points or whatever, let's just run with it. Yeah, I think that's fine. You get 101 out of Tucker Kraft, and you get like 5 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown or something out of Matthew Golden.
Love it.
Yeah, we'll take that.
Looks like Charles did a Daniels Pittman stack with Warren, so he's got an Indy double, and Judkins KW9 and Pearsall.
Looks good.
Very nice. Nez did he ended up grabbing Pollard as his running back, and it's May, Gibbs, Pickens, Keenan, and Tongs.
Nez has been all over Jake Tongas for some reason. I appreciate, because I think even Hayden posted this week's like expected fantasy points for tight ends, like pre-Sunday Night Football, and he was number 1 or number 2. And like, he even said LOL next to it. So I do think there's a little bit of flukiness to the Tonjas profile. I mean, obviously I can get buried by it, and I'm curious to see where he projects with smarter people projecting roles. But I'm definitely curious to see. And the other reason I wouldn't take Tonjas is like the outside chance that Kittle plays, you just get completely nuked to oblivion, because you're not going to get a swap. He's going to play in the game. Right. And so if I'm going to take Jake Tongas, he's not going to like move up to a 4th rounder. So you can just get him later in the week. So I think early week, it's like NBA style. Like, let me just play all these injuries that I'm getting pretty cheap or free swaps for. And then later in the week, I can just take Tonjas for the same price he's going now.
I'm realizing I made kind of the same, arguably, error, I think, in taking Jalen Tolbert. I was kind of assuming that CeeDee Lamb was going to miss again. And now I'm realizing he's like kind of 50-50. And if CeeDee Lamb comes back, Tolbert, he's not completely dead. Turpin probably out as well, but he's likely pretty dead if CeeDee Lamb comes back.
Yeah, Neil, that's what I've seen on your shows. Like, when you do it, it's just like you break ties to correlation versus like, I'll break ties to projection, where like Tolbert is not good enough of a player for me to want to draft in this, where it's like, versus other weeks where I'm like, okay, even early season, I was like, okay, well, Jerry Jeudy's like 71 ADP. He's not getting drafted often. And we know he's had big games in the past. Obviously, I think we're seeing a larger sample of him not having a ceiling now. But yeah, it's like, for me, it's like, if a Sam Fran guy is there as a Q tag versus like Tolbert or something, I'm like, I just can't make myself click the Tolbert thing. So
yeah, no, I've moved more in that direction. You made that comment last week, so I've been trying to learn to lean into projections a little bit more than correlation. Hard to break old habits sometimes when it's like, I don't really love any of these other guys, and that game environment is just so good. But yeah, I've been trying to do. Like I said, I took a naked took a naked Justin Herbert at 44 when he fell a little bit instead of trying to correlate. So yeah, learning a little bit slowly.
Yeah, I think it's tough to like, you can pause and like visualize so many ways that the quarterback is optimal without the receivers, which I think is an interesting thing. So like, even if you take a pocket passer, like obviously the simple one is if his receivers are more undrafted, then he's more likely to go naked, right? So May is always a good example of this, right? Like Booty is undrafted, he can catch touchdowns. Pop Douglas is undrafted, he can catch touchdowns. But even if we go with like maybe not a pure, like obviously I don't think you ever want to take like Stafford naked. I think that's just like not live, even though you could have, a 2-touchdown, Tutu Atwell game or something, or Colby Parkinson or whatever, but most likely he's getting there with one of his premier guys. I think the mid-range pocket passers, I don't know, an example this week of like, let's say Dak, right? Like, he throws one to Pickens, but two other receivers smash on the slate where you needed those two receivers. Pickens scores 13 or 15 fantasy points and he's not optimal. There's just so many paths. And then, he throws one to Luke Schoonmaker right at the goal line or something. There's just so many ways, your QB sneaks it at the goal line that I think. And I do think if you looked at optimal rates, the naked quarterback gets underplayed, which also gives you a little bit of a thing. So in 6-mans, I used to actually just auto everything like 2 years ago. And then the field got better and I think it was less valuable for me. But a lot of the stuff I won was because I just autoed and I didn't care about rational stuff. So I would have Achane with Tyreek Hill. I would have all that stuff that people didn't want to do when they hand drafted. So this year I've been trying to start my week auto drafting like 50 out of my 150 Wildcats or BRs. And then I'll go in the last 100 or 75 and say, okay, I already have this combo. Let me break ties away. I have this combo. Let me break ties away, and just making sure I'm not duping myself. But I think it's an interesting concept of like, when I got third in the BR the other week, it was Patrick Mahomes naked.
Yeah.
And especially in 6-man where it's like, well, most of these guys aren't getting drafted, so he's pretty likely. But even when they are getting drafted, it's a chance that, you get the weird showdown game where all the no names score touchdowns with the quarterback. So,
right. No, I love that breakdown, and it's really sharp and something that, definitely still learning to kind of break away from some of the angles in DFS that like kind of have been pounded into me. Like you got to correlate, like it just gives you the most upside. It is a pretty different game in some ways from DFS. And I think you just laid out the reason it is in particular with the correlations.
Yeah, I think the interesting point about DFS too is that in DFS you have the option to play the Luke Schoonmaker if you wanted to. Like he's 2,500 tight end. You can just throw him in there and say, hey, I'm getting Luke Schoonmaker at 0% versus this week Ferguson's getting played at 25-30%. I'm just going to break ties, play this guy at no salary. There's not really a reason to do that because the upside isn't there in a 6-man or even a 12-man year. So you're not getting as much of a payoff with them being 16% owned, with every room, all that stuff. So there's a little bit of a different dynamic, but yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely hard to break ties. And so sometimes I'll just forget that, especially early week, I'll forget I'm in waiting rooms in Dawg Bowl and I'll just be like, oh wait, I just autoed this whole draft. And so it's kind of nice sometimes to be like, oh, this is just like not a correlated team I would draft by hand. And so like, it gives me that out of like, okay, cool, whatever. Same thing for swaps where it's like, I might just swap onto the nuts. Like, I don't know, like I'm gonna get some good ranks late in the week once I know all the injuries Sunday morning and then swap. So I think there's some fun aspects to doing the weird stuff a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I agree. There's a lot of paths to take to the mountaintop, and usually it's the one that gets there is the one less traveled. So that's a good shout out there. You guys want to do one more? I got time, but Krutches, I don't want to, if you want to hang around, it's up to you.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll hang out for another one. I might hop in this room if it's not insta-filled.
Nice. They have not been insta-filling on past shows, so I think we're.
Seems like this time slot is a little bit more friendlier than later in the day as everybody starts doing dinner and stuff.
Yep.
Need 4.
I will say, this year I was telling you guys, but like I've been trying to hammer out as many Dawg Bowls as I can day one, like Monday and Tuesday. And then I start, because I did realize like early in the year where it's like, well, I'm just losing $2,500 a week that I won 50 this until I get a seat. And it's not great for mentals either. So it was nice to get a win in the BR, but also I think I was like, let me focus on this 2 days before there's really projections and stuff. And then once I have some decent projections, I can do my BR process. And I find that there's certain slots of times where people are drafting the 6-mans less and I can kind of get in better lobbies. And then if the Dawg Bowl stays open till Sunday morning, I would love it because then I could just hop on and like do 5 at once where it's taking less of a time investment. But yeah, I think I just try to get in them Monday. Yesterday, I was just watching the game and just had 2 open at the same time, waiting for the next one to fill just during the game and kind of passively drafting. And so this way I can at least get like 50 ideally before projections drop. And then I can just change because I'm like, I should still focus on the actual contests that make me money without this crazy variance. And then whatever I get in. Like ideally I get like 75 or so, but I noticed last year, even with the ticket, most weeks I wasn't 150ing. I was randomly 71, 80,
Right.
whatever I could get to. So I was like, let me focus on the one that mentally is better for me, where I'm not losing, $8,000 a day or whatever on a Sunday. It's not as fun. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You say you won a BR already this year?
No, I didn't win it. I got third.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You said
I tied with Tunya, who shipped a milli as well. So he's I'm just trying to dupe his lineups because he's on a heater. So
smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
It's still a nice little payday. That helps.
Yeah, it was nice. I didn't realize, like I said, I was happy because at the time, you know how Underdog doesn't perfectly update stuff on the leaderboard. So I knew that I needed less than 5, or like I needed 3 fantasy points from Mahomes. So on that last touchdown, I was like, just 1 passing touchdown and we're good. And I'm going to jump, because what it was is a Josh Allen team instead of Mahomes, which was pure ADP value. Like I didn't get that lucky combo. And so we jumped ahead after that. And I was like, oh man, I know we're in first now. And so we got a few more catches for Tyler Warren just for insurance, I think it was. And then a little bit more. The Puka touchdown, obviously, before the Mahomes one was huge. And then I didn't think it would affect us, but the 88-yard Tutu Atwell touchdown knocked me about $6,000 down because someone had a 5% drafted Matt Stafford with Puka, which I honestly give them credit for. They replied to my Twitter or something. And I was like, honestly, I'm not even mad. Like, shout out to you for drafting Matt Stafford in a BR skinny stacked with Puka or with Puka. So I was that one bumped us, and it put us. I remember because it bumped us, and we were like 0.3 points behind, and I think they did a stat adjustment too, because we ended up 0.1 behind him, and they kept Mahomes in for one more drive, mostly running the ball, but he threw 1 RPO slant through Worthy's hands, and I was just like, man, just literally 5 yards or whatever it is gets us a $6,000 pay bump. We ended up being dead against the guy who's in first because he had Omarion Hampton at the turn, then pushed Tyler Warren and fell to him. It wasn't like a crazy value, but he got him like 23. And I took Tyler Warren at the 2-3 turn at 12, and then took Bucky Irving, who was like a point less than Omarion. So I was ultimately blocked from winning it, but it would have been nice to get the little $6,000 pay bump to second. But like I said, I'm not going to tilt over that. Anything where you're in the green on the year and you can afford to lose, 3 or 4 Dawg Bowl slates, it's nice. Where mentally you're just like, okay, well, I'm kind of playing with house money a little bit now.
Yeah, that's the best when you win early. It's just a winning season right away.
Yeah, I feel like the Dawg Bowl might. It was Saturday afternoon in week 5. I think it was like around 6 o'clock. I feel like we're gonna get the Sunday this week.
Yeah, I think we will. I mean, if I hadn't won a tournament, like I said, it's pretty rough on the mentals. And a lot of these guys in here are doing crazy volume. And I know some of them probably have really big bankrolls, either DFS or whatever, but it's not, any live qualifier final, I'm sure Neil knows, even on DraftKings, is just super rough mentally. If you're already on a down streak and you're losing here, it's like, okay, let me just steady the ship for a couple of weeks until I get back.
Neil, do you want to do Mbuku or
Mbuku? I'd go Judkins or Kyron.
Let's go Kyron.
The thing you talked about with Trevion, I was kind of out on Kyron this week. I had Kunshan over him anyway, so I'm happy with that. But I think there's an outside chance, and this is like pure wish casting for me, but like you draft Jarquez Hunter, who actually statistically is better than all these guys as far as like his success rate and everything in college, and obviously speed and all that. So he went from healthy scratch week 1 to playing special teams. He's a dog. Like, the guy doesn't wear gloves when he plays. So, I'm just trying every narrative I can. But, we know he loves Karen Williams, and I don't think Karen's going to lose the job over a fumble. But it literally cost him a game. And there was, a dropped pass by Karen. He fumbled at the 1. And then, obviously, Corum didn't really see any work after he fumbled either. And that fumble was pretty squarely on him. It hit him in the hands on the pitch. So, it also cost me a lot of my survivor life because I was playing them super heavily. And so it was a tilting game, but I was just like the same thing as Trevion, but like at what point does this guy like lose his work a little bit or just give a chance to Jarquez? So I don't think it's necessarily Jarquez, but I do think that if they're like, let's see what we got in him, especially if Corum also fumbled, I think that's like a little bit of an opening. And so I'm kind of praying that we get a little bit of a light from my Jarquez Hunter, 30 to 40% best ball.
Or Warren.
Yeah, I agree.
For best ball,
I want
I
some.
hope you're right.
Oh, sorry. I want some Hunter too. I'm hoping it happens because I got a buttload in BBM.
I've got a ton of Jarquez Hunter in best ball, so I hope that happens at some point. I think it's more likely with Sean McVay that he's just going to give Kyron the ball 35 times now after he fumbled it, because he's got to make him feel better the way that the way he loves Kyron. But yeah, definitely at some point it would make sense for him to go away from it a little bit.
It's just annoying too, because the thesis was totally correct. Like, I was listening to JJ's pods about them always being league worst in pass rate and stuff, and then he's like, "What if he just loses a little bit of work?" Like, and I didn't think Corum was good coming out, like that good. So when I saw the preseason, I was like pretty annoyed because Corum looked actually very good, and I was like, "Damn it! Like, this was my chance. Like, Corum's not that good. Jarquez wins the job because he's just a really solid runner, and Corum looked really good." So I was like, "Yeah, we're dead." But my hope would be that there's some fumbling issues, or like back-to-back games of the fumble really opens up the window or something like that for him. So that's kind of what I'm, selfishly rooting for. So
yeah, no, I'm also rooting for it. I would love to see that replacement at some point. But I think, just knowing Sean McVay, like, I still think Kyron a pretty strong pick against like all the backups on Baltimore, just given the matchup. This seems like a spot where he's just going to give Kyron the ball over and over.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Just the goal line's strong, the chances for touchdowns. I'm sure once the underdog lobby, he'll be, probably minus 0.7 touchdown likely this week. So,
yeah. I don't think the Baltimore defense is that much healthier this week. I think, as far as I know, they're still pretty banged up, but do you guys have any info on that? I have not looked closely at the situation there.
I think they're going to get some of them back, but they're their best defensive line guy with a neck injury. He's out for the season. So
okay,
I honestly, I think the Ravens are going to be last year's Bengals down the stretch,
or Niners. Yeah,
I think they're just going to have to outscore everybody, and they're just going to be in these shootouts.
Yeah, I heard people saying Mathology was out for the year. I thought it was like the 4-game IR stint and then go from there. That's what I thought, because he didn't even get ruled out initially. I know he was like questionable one week, and then the next week they're like, "Yeah, we're going to put him on IR." So it's a little weird. But is Kyle Hamilton back, or was he an IR guy too? I forget.
No, he has a shot of playing this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think either way, I like to start, like, get a running back, get one of the Rams receivers. I think is smart. I think, what we're seeing right now is that it's a little more of, obviously, we know Puka's more of a gadgety guy, as well as a lot of the designed work. And then you get, as we saw on the highlight reel, Devontae's just like taking 2 guys with him on every route. So I think at some point, NFL defenses want to be like, let's take Puka out of the game and see what happens. You know what I mean? So, like, it sucked for me, Neil, this in eliminator stuff. Like, this year I was literally 40% Devontae, and then he has a terrible week 1 covered by Stingley and getting double teamed. And then I look at all the metrics and separation score, whatever it is, and he's like crushing open score, separation score, even against Stingley. And I'm like, well, it's too late now because I lost all my Devontae teams. Even that's the most annoying thing about eliminators. Like, same thing, Cam Scatterbo. It's like, I got there, but now I had 30% Cam Scatterbo, and those teams are all dead. So, we won't talk about eliminator. We're too tight on that contest.
All I'll say about that is I drafted a ton of Jordan Mason and a fair amount of Aaron Jones, but a lot less. And then the week 3 game against Cincinnati with Aaron Jones out, I of course had more Aaron Jones than Jordan Mason remaining, which was super frustrating. But yeah, we don't need to talk about it.
Yeah. I lost a line because of Hunt's last touchdown last night.
Oh no.
I was like, I'm not going to lose this. And fucking A.
My last Monday night with the doubleheader was what you got there.
Are you good with Lamb?
Yeah, I was just saying, do we want to take a Q-tag guy here, Lamb or Lamar maybe?
That's what I was thinking.
Either
take
or.
Lamb.
I like Lamb. Yeah, that makes sense.
Opposite of Tat, and see if Dak comes back.
Cool. I was good with Lamb or Walker on my team too, so I was happy with either of those. I think I was saying last Monday night was probably the most tilting thing ever. I was like joking about it because I went to like the BBMDB and I was at 12 teams projected to get 10 or 10.8 actually. So I was like projected to lose 1 Monday night, maybe 2. So I lose 1. Okay, I'm like, cool, whatever. Like, I'm not tilting over running average. And it was the first year I had 16 teams left. So it was the first week of the year that I was like above average. I was 12. I was projected to get like 10 or 11 out of 16 through. I was like, this is sick. Finally get one good week when it starts to matter more. So I lose 1. Then I lose a second on, I forget, one of the late touchdowns. I think it was, I forget who was playing, Denver or someone. I think it was Sutton. I think knocked out.
Denver,
I think it was
Cincinnati,
Sutton or someone knocked out my second team. And then there was literally one team that had like almost no shot at it based on his role. And I was like joking about it because they were just kind of running over Cincy. And I was like, if RJ Harvey scores a touchdown, I lose the team. And
that's right.
And I was literally just sitting there, like knowing that I even put a tweet out. I was like, he's just going to force feed him a touchdown to like get his confidence up or something in this game. And sure enough, you're just like, I see the screen pass just wide open in the flats, and I'm like, yep. And then I refresh it, and I lost the team. So I was like, went back down to 9 out of 16.
Oh, that's brutal.
And then this week, we lose 75% of our team, so that was fun.
Yeah, it's so fun in theory, the eliminator. Like I love the setup, but then you get so early in the season, and we're all down to just a handful of teams, and it's like it was super fun, and like I love tracking it, but also it'd be a lot more fun if I had 20 teams to track instead of just a few.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think next year I'm sure you'll do more content on it, Neil. But from what I've heard, they're going to cut the sprint and marathon, which makes sense. Like those didn't fill outside of promos, and they still overlaid. I'm guessing that they're going to really juice the eliminator and big eliminator, and then make it like not two flagships, but BBM obviously flagship, and then like eliminator is the big alternate flagship with the other, the puppies and stuff, which people obviously love to draft. So I think those are the successful contests, and maybe they'll introduce some other new stuff. But I think from what I've heard, I'm pretty excited to see if there's like a 500K to first eliminator or something real juicy like that. That would be a 6-6 sweat. So
that'd be a good one to have. I mean, Math and I kind of started this show with the idea of maybe we'll do some of those kind of side contests on this show. So hopefully we can run this back and start doing more eliminator contests. And that one of my big things is drafting late, because I don't feel like I have any edge drafting early. But maybe you can come on one of those early shows, because it seems like both of you had a lot of success with your early lineups.
Yeah, I was tilted that last year was the year I did, and I obviously came on your show and talked about it. I did all early and I did all the 18th round. I had 50% 18th round CEH, and then he just gets like PTSD thing and goes on IR, and then gets cut. So like this year, I was taking Igbuka at like 105, 107 early on my. Because I did, I think 35 early teams, and then I paused. And if I had just done all that, like I probably have a sick eliminator advance rate. I didn't have the Quentin Johnson stuff really, but until late when it looked like his role, but. I was just like, why? I mean, EZ talked about it too a bunch, but like Golden and Igbuka. So obviously Golden didn't hit, but it's like, these are first round wide receivers, and same thing. It's like ambiguous room. We don't know if he's going to play. And it's like, guys, especially Igbuka is like top 20 pick. It's not even like 32nd overall for, fringe first round. Someone traded up to get him, sneak in front of the second round teams. It was like 19th overall, like, and then especially once it became clear that Godwin wasn't going to be ready, it was just like, yeah, you're taking a really good talent that they're probably going to mix in even early. I was sad I didn't do a bunch of early ones this year, but I think I was pretty happy with my process this year as far as how I built teams. With kind of like fading elite tight end and quarterback. I mean, Josh Allen, pretty crazy. Like if that. Obviously it's ifs and buts, but like he was not smashing that game, and it was just the late fourth quarter that he just got to like 40 fantasy points and kind of automatically got you through. So that wasn't great for me, but I was pretty happy overall. The big eliminators, I had a sweaty week last night, but because I was doing really well on them, and then I lost 4 out of 8 in a 8 out of 10 week. So I had like an Armageddon terrible week for me, and then yesterday. Because the strategy was different there. I actually think I wish there was almost more of that contest, because everyone went from the 1-to-1 or like 1 out of 2 each week. And if you looked at it, like week 5 was the first bye week if you wanted to be aggressive to stack week 5 buys. And it was the last 6 out of 8 before it goes to 4 out of 6 and then 2 out of 4. So I personally chose to play it aggressive. I had a ton of 3 out of my 4 teams were Jordan Love teams last night, and I got all 4 through. And a lot of them, 50% of them had JJ McCarthy. One of them had JJ McCarthy, Purdy, and Love. So I had a 0 at quarterback and got it through. So the fact that I got a bunch through with like Bijan and other guys as my first round picks with the week 5 bye. And then the other bye I stacked was a lot of Chargers and a lot of week 12, because it was 18 out of 23, which is 78% randomly in the midst of a bunch of 50% weeks. And it's past the cash line. So that was like objectively the best. But I think the big limb was pretty strategic this year.
Yeah, I only did one total biggie limb, so I never got that deep into how I thought about it. But I think that is sharp. I am still living with the one at this point, but
I like it.
we're still a few weeks away from cash. It's live. It's actually one of my healthiest teams, surprisingly.
Nice. What do you think, Neil? We got a Lamar, Kyron mini.
Did Zay go already?
Yeah, Zay did go. Okay. I was surprised.
I mean, we could go Bowers if we want to lean into the Q tags more. Or...
Yeah, why not? At this point,
did you guys consider Mark Andrews there? Or are you kind of out on it right now?
I thought about it, but it's just like, why not take the swing that he does come back? Just a ceiling swing.
Yeah. How often do that Bowers does come back? I thought you were suggesting that Bowers comes back to us, and I was going to say, we're thinking about 2 tight end. Have you ever done a 2 tight end in this contest?
No,
it's not. It's provably bad.
Yeah.
By the way, it was funny. I posted this I think on Twitter yesterday, but the team that had 0 quarterbacks in the big limb, I just looked at the running back room. I mean, I'm just praying this thing min cashes because it's Austin. They go from bottom up. Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones, James Conner, Omarion Hampton. I was just praying for Omarion, and then the last one left to CMC. So I'm like, by pattern recognition, CMC is getting hurt this week, guys. I don't know if this is any indication. Every week there's a running back hurt, and now it's CMC.
That's tilting. The Eckler stuff is tilting for me, man. I thought he was going to smash. I really did.
Yeah, I didn't even think it was smash. It was just like a nice floor play with some upside. But
he was looking good, man. Too like he was looking fresh.
Didn't move that much after the Brian Robinson trade, so it was just like, I think he's just going to have a great role. Like he might take on more running work along with the passing work. Yeah,
I would love for. I was just looking. This tight end is kind of gross back here, actually.
Nice.
I would like.
Neil, do you want to go wide receiver?
Or I've got with Ridley or Hassan Haskins or did Chuba go already? I assume Chuba went. Oh, Chuba's there. We could do that.
Want to do Chuba?
Add him on to our we've got a little mini stack going.
Stay on the clock.
Trevion's there if you want him to.
Yeah. What do you want to do, Chuba or Trevion?
I'd say Chuba, but
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Just for the, we've got to continue the Q tag theme, and it's a little mini stack.
We're on the clock.
I don't think he's going to get there this year, but man, I wish they played more Terrence Ferguson in LA. He had one sick catch, and it's like the guy's just a monster. Like, what are we doing with Colby Parkinson and Mason? Or I know you're big on
Higbee.
Yeah, I know you're big on the incumbent starter. I can't think of his name, but
Tyler Higbee. Yeah.
But
he's been hurt.
I figured it'd be a redshirt year for T Ferg, but man, like he looked good on the one highlight I saw. I'm like, let's get a dynamic playmaker in at tight end, mix it in with the 2-star receivers and Tutu, and I think you're cooking with something.
Yeah, there was a brief period where I was super in on Higbee just because the coach speak was so positive. It was like, I mean, whenever Higbee retires, then Ferguson is going to be the heir apparent, like all that kind of stuff. So I was like, all right. But then I just looked at like Higbee's past years, and it's like he actually has not been that good like for most of his career. Like he's had little spikes where he's been like a decent late tight end option, but he never actually spiked to being. I kind of remembered him as being better in his good years than he was, so I sort of laid off it a little bit.
Yeah,
he got me a Dawg Bowl seat, so I do like him. But
nice. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna start seeing it soon. It's like week 6. Week 7 is when you start seeing things shift a little bit, especially like the post bye bump. Be interesting to see what the Bears do after their bye week.
Nice. Silas said the coaches said he's going to get more work. That's nice.
These guys they just need to practice more.
Yeah, I don't have giant best ball bags of him or anything because he was going kind of high on DraftKings initially, and then I think he fell down. But he's still just kind of a fun click. On the teams you do have him. But
yep.
So what do you think of the squad, Krutches? You like what you just built there? Want to break it down for us?
Yeah, I mean, I found it interesting that Matt Stafford was like nobody wanted him coming into the year, and then even in DFS, nobody usually wants him because there was lack of ceiling. But I was always kind of a Matt Stafford defender, where it's like they just had such a like obnoxiously low red zone pass touchdown rate. It was all just Kyron soaking it up, and like, what if we get the year? Like, it was kind of part of the Kyron fate of like, guys, Devontae Adams is very good at the goal line, and now we're getting Puka scoring touchdowns, which I didn't even account for that. But like, Devontae is usually the goal line guy, so he might eat even just a few of Kyron's touchdowns. Now we're getting Puka scoring touchdowns and literally on designed, rub routes. Like this is pretty bad for Kyron. Obviously he gets there with 2 receiving touchdowns, which is the most unlikely thing of all time.
Yeah.
But I think, Stafford, not a giant ceiling guy. Like I wouldn't still want to play him in a 6-man, I don't think. But I think in this contest you can get there with 22 or 25 versus needing the exact 27 or 28 that one of the other guys might get. So, you play this as a game script where Stafford throws 3, but 2 of them happen to be to Devontae. He scores that 25-point week. Juwan, whether he plays or it's a swap, it doesn't really matter. He can get there in, a few ways. And then John was probably the grossest one. I didn't even really think about the bring back because I think he probably slows the game down with how short his 8-yard is. But I mean, you're just playing it as gets me a few points. It's tight end. It doesn't matter unless you're taking the elite guys. And then, Kenneth Walker, we all know the reason you draft Kenneth Walker. So ideally 15 carries, but he can get there on 10. So
yeah. 5. Yeah. Yeah. We played the Q game pretty hard, but we did a lot of little minis there with Lamb and Tet with Chuba. Did the Q game with Bowers, Lamar, and then we got in that same game when we're hoping that they're through the ground for us. We get a lot of 1-yard touchdown runs out of Kyron.
Yeah, it's pretty gross with all the Q tags and like I think some true Qs on the team, but I also think kind of fun. Like you can look at each individual player and it's like, oh, that's a great pick. That's a great pick. If it works out, there's upside there. But I think it's not the likeliest bet that we've made here.
It's a good Tuesday build.
Yeah.
We don't know.
The only one I got still sold on is like Tet, and then especially when you pair him with Chuba, which I like doing the weird stuff like that, like I talked about, but I'm still just like I said, I have super heavy Tet bags in best ball. So if he goes off, I'm like overall happy for my advance rate. But yeah, there's just been this weird like capped ceiling where I don't know if it's a Bryce thing or the offense just isn't sustaining enough, production, or teams are keying on him in the red zone maybe and allowing these dust balls to score touchdowns. Maybe that's it. I'm sure he'll get there one of these weeks. It's just, and this is obviously a great matchup, but yeah, I'm kind of curious like what's going on there because he's obviously dominating all the metrics in Carolina, but he just hasn't had that explosive game. But like you said, it's especially getting CD on the other side, you're betting on it just kind of being an explosive game. And then, you get 2 touchdowns out of 1. Like if you get 3 combined touchdowns from the 2 players, then you're good.
With Tet, what I've been seeing mostly, it seems to be a little bit more of a Bryce Young thing and just overall scheme of the offense thing. And they could really
Bryce likes to do the Russell Wilson thing on the goal line and just throw it up through the uprights when he's
and
it's better than throwing a pick, but it's like also maybe just try to give your tall receiver a chance to go up and get his toes down or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit they need Leggett to like bring a little bit of that bracket coverage away from Tet so much. Everybody's focusing on him.
Coker's coming back.
Oh, there you go. Whatever.
Maybe.
Anybody. They need to open it up a little bit for him because that's like JSN and Puka and all those guys. They have the scheme is really good because they have a better offensive scheme and overall players on the teams. But it's just like those guys are still eating in the middle of the field, and they just haven't got Tet in the middle of the field yet. They're like everything is outside hashes all the time. Like you watch the game, everything is it's a hard throw for Bryce. And it's in kind of bracket coverage. So it'd be nice to see them trying to get in some in break or something in the middle of the field where he can maybe get some yak. But it's everything. He catches it and he gets tackled right away. It's just the way that their whole scheme is. It's not fantasy greatness for us yet.
Yeah, yep. I'm with you. In the preseason they had him on in breaking stuff, and I know Ryan Heath talked a lot about it, and he's sharp that. What's his name? Canales designs a lot of his X receivers to run in breaking stuff, so that's why I was part of the reason I was so high on him.
We haven't seen it yet. We just haven't seen it yet. Hopefully they'll break it out. Maybe it's stuff like a post buy thing, or they just haven't done it because they've been so banged up. But
yeah, maybe Bryce is just so bad they're just trying to get by, and then once he shows a little life like this game, then they're like, hey, we feel a little more confident he's getting his groove back. We can actually play football.
Yeah, be great. Well, man, Krutches, this was a ton of fun. Just like being at the Dawg Bowl with you every night, burning the midnight candle.
Let's punch some tickets this week, and then we can plan to be there again.
Let's do it again. I totally agree, man. Thanks a lot for joining us, Neil. You got any last minute words you want to?
No, I'm good. Let's all punch some tickets. All dogs go to Kansas City. We don't have any yet. We're like halfway through the season already. Somehow the Dawg Bowl season. So, let's get it.
Love it.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, right. Thanks a lot for joining us. Great time. Thanks everybody hanging out in the chat.